Paris, London, Moscow. Reuters. North Korea shipped coal to Russia last year, which was then delivered to South Korea and Japan in a likely violation of UN sanctions, 3 Western European intelligence sources said. The UN Security Council banned North Korean exports of coal last August 5 under sanctions intended to cut off an important source of the foreign currency Pyongyang needs to fund its nuclear weapon and missile programs. But the secretive communist state has at least 3 times since then shipped coal to the Russian ports of Nakhodka and Kholmsk, where it was unloaded at docks and reloaded on 2 ships that took it to South Korea or Japan, the sources said. A Western shipping source said separately that some of the cargoes reached Japan and South Korea in October last year. A U.S. security source also confirmed the coal trade via Russia and said it was continuing. Russia's port of Nakhodka is becoming a transhipping hub for North Korean coal, said one of the European security sources, who requested anonymity because of the sensitivity of international diplomacy around North Korea. Asked to respond to the report, Kremlin spokesman Dmitry Peskov said on Friday that Russia abided by international law. Russia is a responsible member of the international community, he told reporters on a conference call. Interfax news agency quoted an unidentified official at Russia's embassy to North Korea on Friday as saying Russia did not buy coal from North Korea and was not a transit point for coal deliveries to third countries. Russia's mission to the United Nations told the Security Council Sanctions Committee on November 3 that Moscow was complying with the sanctions. 2 lawyers who specialize in sanctions law told Reuters it appeared the transactions violated UN sanctions. Reuters could not independently verify whether the coal unloaded at the Russian docks was the same coal that was then shipped to South Korea and Japan. Reuters also was unable to ascertain whether the owners of the vessels that sailed from Russia to South Korea and Japan knew the origin of the coal. The U.S. Treasury on Wednesday put the owner of one of the ships, the UALG Bong 6, under sanctions for delivering North Korean coal to Kholmsk on September 5. It was unclear which companies profited from the coal shipments. Russia urged a more on sanctions. North Korean coal exports were initially capped under a 2016 Security Council resolution that required countries to report monthly imports of coal from North Korea to the Council's Sanctions Committee within 30 days of the end of each month. Diplomats, speaking on condition of anonymity, said Russia had not reported any imports of North Korea coal to the committee last year. The Sanctions Committee told UN member states in November that a violation occurs when activities or transactions prescribed by Security Council resolutions are undertaken or attempts are made to engage in prescribed transactions, whether or not the transaction has been completed. Asked about the shipments identified by Reuters, Matthew Osman, a partner with law firm Pillsbury Winthrop Shaw Pittman who advises companies on sanctions, said, based on these facts, there appears to be a violation of the UN Security Council resolution by the parties involved. Also, those involved in arranging, financing, and carrying out the shipments could likely face U.S. sanctions, he said. The United States has led efforts to toughen UN sanctions to force North Korea to give up development of nuclear missiles capable of hitting America. Asked about the shipments, a U.S. State Department spokesman said, "It's clear that Russia needs to do more. All UN member states, including Russia, are required to implement sanctions resolutions in good faith and we expect them all to do so." Earlier this month, U.S. Secretary of State Rex Tillerson accused Russia of not implementing all the UN sanctions and said Moscow may be frustrating some of the steps. Tillerson said the Russian failure to comply with the UN measures primarily concerned fuel but some other areas potentially as well. A State Department official said it was time for Russia to act. "There is no more time for excuses," the official said. "The world is watching Russia's actions closely. Russia says it wants better relations with the United States, so Moscow should prove that by cooperating with us, not working against us, on this urgent threat to all nations." File photo, post stamps with images of North Korean leaders Kim Jong-un and Kim Jong-il are seen at the Made in North Korea exhibition held at the UMAM Museum in Moscow, Russia, January 20, 2018. Reuters, Maxim Shemetov, the independent panel of experts that reports to the Security Council on violations of sanctions was not available for comment. North Korea has refused to give up the development of nuclear missiles capable of hitting the United States. It has said the sanctions infringe its sovereignty and accused the United States of wanting to isolate and stifle North Korea. An independent panel of experts reported to the Security Council on September 5 that North Korea had been deliberately using indirect channels to export prohibited commodities, evading sanctions. Reuters reported last month that Russian tankers had supplied fuel to North Korea at sea, and U.S. President Donald Trump told Reuters in an interview on January 17 that Russia was helping Pyongyang get supplies in violation of the sanctions. The U.S. Treasury on Wednesday imposed sanctions on 9 entities, 16 people and 6 North Korean ships it accused of helping the weapons programs. Two separate routes for the coal were identified by the Western security sources. The first used vessels from North Korea via Nakhodka, about 85 kilometers 53 miles east of the Russian city of Vladivostok. One vessel that used this route was the Palau-flagged Jianfu, which Russian port control documents show delivered 17,415 tons of coal after sailing from Nampo in North Korea on August 3 and docking at berth number 4 run by LLC Port Livadia in Nakhodka. It left the port on August 18. The vessel had turned off its tracking transmitter from July 24 to August 2, when it was in open seas, according to publicly available ship tracking data. Under maritime conventions, this is acceptable practice at the discretion of the ship's captain, but means the vessel could not be tracked publicly. Another ship arrived at the same berth, number 4, on August 16, loaded 20,500 tons of coal and headed to the South Korean port of Ulsan in August 24, according to Russian port control documents. Reuters was unable to reach the operator of the Jianfu, which was listed in shipping directories as the China-based Sunrise Ship Management. The Nakhodka-based transport agent of the Jianfu did not respond to written and telephone requests for comment. LLC Port Livadia did not respond to a written request for comment. The second route took coal via Kholmsk on the Russian Pacific island of Sakhalin, north of Japan. At least 2 North Korean vessels unloaded coal at a dock in Kholmsk port in August and September after arriving from the ports of Wonsan and Tian in North Korea. Russian port control data and ship tracking data showed. The Rungra-2 docked in Kholmsk 3 times between August 1 and September 12, unloading a total of 15,542 tons of coal, while the Uljibong-6 unloaded a total of 10,068 tons of coal on 2 separate port calls, on August 3 and between September 1 and September 8, according to the official Russian information system for state port control. The coal did not pass Russian customs because of the UN sanctions taking effect, but was then loaded at the same dock onto Chinese-operated vessels. Those vessels stated their destination in Russian port control documents as North Korea, according to a source in Sakhalin Port Administration who spoke on condition of anonymity. Reuters has seen the port control documents which state the destination of the coal as North Korea. But the vessels that loaded the North Korean coal sailed instead for the ports of Pohang and Incheon in South Korea, ship tracking data showed. In Beijing on Friday, Foreign Ministry spokeswoman Hua Chunying told reporters she did not know anything about the situation, but China was clear in its hope that the UN resolutions are followed fully. China will not allow any Chinese company or individual to do anything that goes against the resolutions, and if there is cast iron proof this is happening, China will handle it seriously and in accordance with the law, she added. The U.S. Treasury on Wednesday included the owner of the Uljibong-6 under sanctions for delivering North Korean coal to Kholmsk after the sanctions took effect. It was unclear which companies profited from the coal shipments. Asked about the shipments, a South Korean Foreign Ministry official said, "Our government is monitoring any sanctions evading activities by North Korea. We're working closely with the international community for the implementation of the sanctions." The official declined to say whether the ministry was aware of the shipments reported by Reuters. The Japanese Foreign Ministry did not immediately respond to a request for comment. The European security sources said the route via Russia had developed as China, North Korea's neighbor and lone major ally, cracked down on exports from the secretive communist state. The Chinese have cracked down on coal exports from North Korea, so the smuggling route has developed and Russia is the transit point for coal, one of the European security sources said. Writing by Guy Falconbridge and Jonathan Saul. Additional reporting by Michelle Nichols in New York, Oksana Kobzeva and Gleb Stolyarov in Moscow, Haiyan Haitian in Seoul, William James in London, Mu Zhu, Ben Blanchard and Josephine Mason in Beijing, Aaron Sheldrick and Linda Sieg in Tokyo, and David Brunstrom, Mark Hosenball and Matt Spetalnik in Washington. Editing by Timothy Heritage, Clarence Fernandez, Sonia Heppenstall and Lisa Schumacher. Standards. The Thomson Reuters Trust Principles.